Mobile carriers are finding out that what they have to do is they have to transform themselves from being operators to innovators and actually go off and become product companies. And so a good way to start that is to actually take the assets they already have and start exposing them, not just for their own employees to use, but their partners to start using and create an ecosystem around it. And you can start by doing something bold and creating a developer ecosystem, but you can also start by doing something in between a developer ecosystem or being a closed system and go off and do a partner ecosystem. And I think a lot of telcos or service providers have actually gone off and started that process. They sometimes start with a developer ecosystem and then do a partner ecosystem. Partner defined as somebody they already do business with. And the way to do that is to actually take your assets, expose them through APIs, with the appropriate controls, obviously, and give them an opportunity to collaborate with their partners, with the developers, to actually go off and innovate and see if they can monetize the assets that they already have. The next step in that journey is actually innovating themselves. This is not just for what happens outside, it's also what happens inside, right? So it's a service provider like AT&T has 50, 60, 70,000 technical people, even more, in their company. So it's not just providing the assets to partners and to developers outside, but how do you go off and innovate yourself? And so making it easier for people inside and outside to use the assets makes a big difference. So that's the first step. I think the second step is, okay, now you've done that, how do you have a good idea of how you modify things along the way? How do you have visibility on what's working and what's not? How do you know that this particular partner is doing well and this is what you should work with them on? And that's where you start needing analytics. You need to know what products are working and what products are not working. Which ones should you invest in? Because some of the investment cycles are longer in the service provider business than they are in normal enterprises. So having that visibility as well as having some predictive capabilities on talking about how not only are people using their platforms or products that they have exposed, but how can they go off and take that and monetize it, and giving them a view of where this is going to go. And so that's how it all comes together for a service provider. They have assets, they need to expose them, they need to analyze how the exposure is being used internally and externally. And as long as that four-step process works, I think service providers are going to go from being operators to becoming product companies and innovators.